Welcome to Community Hotline. I'm Monica Weitzel. We're here in Gresham at MetroEast Community Media. Glad you joined us tonight. We've got a full show and it's going to be a fun one. We're going to start out talking about an organization that's been in Portland for years and it's very well respected. I'm talking about Sisters of the Road. And here to represent Sisters of the Road, I have two musicians who will be performing at their annual Winter Folk Festival. So I'd like to introduce Kate Power, musician. Thank you for being here, Kate.
Yes, happy to be here.
Yes,
Thank
and
you.
Steve Einhorn.
You said it right?
Einhorn, yes.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to have you both here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So you are both folk musicians.
We are.
And you have been with Sisters of the Road performing or somehow involved for many years, right?
We have a long relationship.
Since '84.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time. We have people watching who weren't around in '84.
Really?
Well, I hear that, but I don't know. We'll see. But Sisters of the Road is, like I said, it's a really well-respected organization, which is kind of interesting because it's working mostly with the homeless community and people that are in a situation of poverty. But it's such a different approach, I think, than a lot of organizations have. It's very much, I don't want to say it. It's an attitude of you're just the same as the rest of us. You know, we are no better than you, and that's true, right? We're all the same. We're all humans, but you don't see that everywhere. People don't always treat people that are homeless or in poverty with that dignity and respect that we all deserve. Yeah.
You feel that the second you're inside of Sisters, or talking with someone who works with Sisters.
So essentially it's a cafe, but it's much more than that.
It's a great cafe.
It is a great cafe.
It is.
So my friend Brenda Morgan took me there a while back, and I was amazed at how good the food was, for one thing, but then also about how there was such a feeling of inclusiveness. You know, it's like, you know, you could be somebody dressed in a lovely suit and pearls sitting next to somebody who was in rags and nobody would say a thing. There was no differentiation. It was a good thing. You know, people were talking to each other and getting to know each other, and I was very impressed by that. What brought you into Sisters of the Road?
I remember my first meal at Sisters was a lunch and a very nice salmon. Ooh. And
he remembers what he ate.
Oh, you bet. And it felt great, and I remember playing a little music in the cafe that day. A friend of mine and I went in and just played, and we got to meet Jenny Nelson.
Right, and she's the founder,
heart,
right?
The woman who founded Sisters in '79, I think, and you feel
I'd never met her, so tell me what that was like.
She is a bright, sparkly human being with a beautiful smile, and you understand why it works because of people like Jenny.
It's impressive, and thank God we have people like Jenny around.
Yeah.
The mission and the philosophy of Sisters of the Road is it's large. I mean, there's a lot of components to it. They talk a lot about systemic change. They talk a lot about nonviolence. That's a big thing. And dining with dignity. I believe they also talk about gentle personalism. Do you know about that, gentle personalism? It was a term I've never heard before, but I saw that on their website about just treating everyone as a human being and in a gentle way and an accepting way, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Have you had much experience with the people in the community there?
Well, yeah, through our store when we had Artichoke Music, which we sold 11 years ago, but we were there for 25 years.
It was an icon in Portland, really.
Yeah, and people would come in from Sisters, you know, fairly regularly. Plus, when you're a folk singer and songwriter, a lot of the you're writing from your feet are on the street. You're not in some cloud somewhere. It's real life, and the line between the haves and the have-nots is pretty fine at times and very tenuous, certainly lately. And so when we just decided to create a raffle for Sisters to try to see if we could generate some funds, we realized that there were a lot of people that would never cross the river or go to a different part of town or that sort of thing. But once we were raffling this guitar for the money to go to Sisters of the Road, people were coming from all over the place that never would do that before.
They didn't want to go to that part of town or something.
Well, I think it's, if you live in Vancouver, you don't come to Portland, or if you live in Northwest, you don't come to Southeast necessarily. It's just a part of the culture, different from the East Coast or something like that. But what I noticed is that everybody has someone close to the street. Somewhere, we all have people to worry about.
Oh, we've been there ourselves, close to the street.
It touches all of us. It's not one kind of person. So, because of the universal intention to feed people with dignity and to do our part, and as a little business, a private business, but to find something that was meaningful to partner with. So we began to get to know Sisters and the folks related to it better through our kind of proactivity to try to generate some funds.
I think that's really important for businesses to do that, to get in there and support the community. I mean, that's really important. So you were talking about how the kind of music you do is it's a fine line. There's not much distance from actually being on the street. The things that you talk about maybe in your songs. Tell me a little bit about folk music.
Well, I know that my parents were involved in social justice issues. I grew up in Teaneck, New Jersey, and I remember just as a kid, they were involved with Teaneck Civic Conference, and there were Teaneck was an integrated town. It was considered a model community when integration became a huge issue in the 60s, and my parents were active, and they supported, both Kate's and my parents supported our folk music, and we were drawn to the music of Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie and people singing about those issues.
Social issues and change.
And they weren't just issues, they were also beautiful songs.
Right.
And we, in our work together through Artichoke and with the music, we always wanted to raise money, because you have to raise money to keep the organization going, but we wanted to have fun doing it. And
I think that's important.
What better way than with our music? And we would get a trashed guitar, a beautiful, several years in a row, we got trashed guitars, but they were beautiful old guitars, and we restored them and then raffled them off. And it was fun, and it brought people into our store, which we needed. We needed people coming through the door.
It's a win-win, right?
And we raised a bunch of money, and it was fun, and there was music.
So you've been fundraising for Sisters for a long time, then, it sounds like. So tell me, you were involved with this big guitar thing that was going on in Pioneer Square some years back.
We set the Guinness World Record June 29th, 2003 in Pioneer Courthouse Square, calling out to everybody to create the world's largest guitar band to play a song for the longest period of time. It was 93 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
It was interesting. The police were wonderful. They worked with us. We worked with Sisters for a year to plan for it. And we were not the band. The people that came were the band. We were supporting the band. And the Sisters, Debbie Fox was a drummer, the Sisters rep. That worked with us, the development director at the time. And the police cordoned off the areas so that we were pretty well protected to channel all the people in. And people came in on bus, on bicycles, cars. You had the suits next to the mohawks, next to the nuns, next to
Are you talking about the people that are playing? Right?
Everybody came.
We have a photo of all 702 people holding their guitars. And we welcomed other instruments. Yeah. But there were over 500 guitarists and then mandolins, and we held them up in the air, and people made up verses. They would come up on stage and
what was the song that you sang?
This Land Is Your Land.
Okay, very appropriate.
Over an hour.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we had some Hare Krishna people come up and sing Hare Krishna to the melody
They
of
did
This
the
Land Is
last
Your
verse.
Land.
Yeah.
That's so great. That must have been so fun.
Oh,
it was fun.
And does the record still stand?
No, Poland beat us the next year. But all we wanted to do was set the
Right. I mean, you
the
have
record.
that.
We have the certificate.
Yes,
we do.
Yeah,
And it's a British organization, and you could just you knew that the people working in the office had been there for centuries.
We're still running into people that were there, and
Really?
that was such a fun day.
Yeah,
And
who would forget that? You wouldn't ever forget that. If you
no,
were
it
home
was
with that.
pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
And Arlo Guthrie, we did a show with Tom Paxton one time with Arlo, and he had heard about the event because, of course, his
really?
father
Right,
had
he
written
wrote
that
that.
song, and it ended up on the Associated Press. But it proved that you could raise a pretty good chunk of money, $10,000, with a bunch of people having a good time, doing something with really fiercely wonderful, radical kindness and intention.
Was
and
there
it
any?
worked.
Were there any problems? There was no violence. There was no.
No, it was a
everybody
great
was
event.
The
peaceful.
only
Yeah.
what happened was it started, and all of a sudden there were 700 plus people all singing together, looking to us to lead the
no.
band for over an hour.
Yeah.
And that realization, oh my goodness, we have to do this now. And
Wow.
but then it just
bet it was
got
wonderful.
more and more fun.
Yeah.
And I consumed, I think, a quart of margaritas right afterwards, and then fell asleep.
Yes, you did.
Love it. Oh, it must have been exhausting, but it sounds like
Oh,
fun.
it was great.
Well, so that brings us to this new event. Well, this is not a new event, but this year's event,
Yeah.
benefiting sisters.
The
And I
30th.
want to bring up some pictures too that we have from some past Winter Folk
Wonderful.
events. So this is the 30th year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is huge. I mean, that's a long time for one event to be benefiting a local nonprofit. So this here, the Tom May sponsored.
Tom May
folk
on
There
the
he is.
left.
Yep, and there's Utah.
Tom May, Cliff Jones, Avery Grimes, Western Wind, J.W. Sparrow, Kate Sullivan, Peter Yarrow. Okay,
Yeah. Cozy
25th
Sheridan.
and the 29th.
Every year has been different, and every star celebrity that has been part of it donates their time. Nobody's getting paid.
Oh, really? No,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Nope. It's all, everybody participates, and even Utah Phillips and Peter Yarrow, those folks,
That's
they're
wonderful.
offering it
That's great.
to bring people. And
I think that adds a lot just knowing that. you
the
know.
generosity of great people, yeah. Having a good time. And this is going to be a special one this year. I think it'll be especially good.
Do you think so?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Jim Page, one of the performers, wonderful topical songwriter, works with Billy Oskey, who is a marvelous recording engineer and donates a day in his deluxe recording studio.
Big Red Studio.
So that'll be
Nice.
raffled off. And
Oh, wow.
Tracy Grammer, who worked with Dave Carter for years, her wonderful music partner, and they performed at several Winter Folks. And she's gone on to work as a soloist, and she has a brand new recording. She'll be playing, and
So this is at Alberta Rose
Yes, it is.
Theater, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and is going to be on January
Saturday.
27th,
Yep.
7 p.m.
yeah.
And benefit of Sisters of the Road. So, what do you look forward to the most at this event?
Well, for me, a few things. One thing, the Alberta Rose Theater has also just been, through the participation of the community, bought by the people that are running it to continue doing their community
Because they were going
building.
to tear it down, right? There was going to be.
It ultimately probably would have happened.
Yeah,
but
that's what I heard that it was going to be.
it's a great hub for people to come together. It's a perfect room.
Yeah, it
it's
is.
really fun, and so I think gathering there will be really strong. And the kind of people that are playing this year not only are like Billy Oskey's beautiful fiddle against one of the best topical writers, really the Bob Dylan of the Pacific Northwest. This guy is a great writer.
And who's that?
Jim Page.
Jim Page.
Jim Page, okay.
Yeah.
And he, as Steve can tell you, can write a 20-minute song stuck on the freeway and
Wow.
And then perform it.
and perform it. But
That's a talent there.
Anna Tivol.
Anna
Oh,
Tivol, beautiful
I've been listening
emerging
to her.
writers that are just tremendous.
So there's
are
a real
coming too.
diversity of performers, right?
Young,
New
old.
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
old, they're learning together,
Absolutely.
they're
Yeah.
sharing with each other. I bet
Yes.
it's a really warm feeling of
It is. Well, just coming back with our
camaraderie and-
comrades.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
And I bet you see people that you've known for years when you
Yep.
go there, right?
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
one big
It's like old
family.
home week.
It
Yeah.
absolutely is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are all folk singers activists?
Interesting question. Probably not. Go Tell Aunt Rhody isn't
Yeah.
a social revolution song,
But
but
there is a lot of
A lot of us
social
are.
justice issues that come out in
Absolutely. All of the things that are really going on with regular folks is coming out in the music. So even Mozart and Schubert would pick folk songs that they gleaned and then would extrapolate from.
Yeah.
But the music is always happening. And now, you know, like, and there have been many phases of it and styles, and depending on where you live and all of that. But folk is an expression of the whole spectrum of humanity, not just one thing.
So how, I hate to ask this, but has the current administration affected the music? Do you think that, you know, the political climate and have you heard? Has there been more music coming out?
Oh yeah.
There's never been a better time to be a folk singer than right now.
There you go.
That's
there
right.
you go.
Yeah, we sang at the ACLU benefit shortly after the big election.
Wow.
There were a bunch of great musicians on that bill. People are willing, more than willing, to offer their music for the
something that
cause
they
right now.
believe in.
Yeah.
The other element that I think is really important is that it's so dislodging what's happening right now, that when people are coming together and they sing, it brings us together. Yeah. They discovered that when people sing together that the hearts all calibrate to one heartbeat.
Really?
This is a very important time for that kind of resonating together, because people are isolated and dislocated and scared.
Yeah, yeah.
And so
And that brings hope.
Yeah.
That brings hope. And that, there's nothing
Let's talk
really
about
more
hope.
powerful than to be able to
Oprah.
have hope. Yeah. I mean, you were talking about that. I have to watch that speech.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and that's really important when, you know, when things get, you know, scary, that you have to have hope to keep going. And you know, I think, you know, being able to share that through your music is really a powerful thing.
We've been doing it for hundreds of years. I mean, this is how the news got traveling from one place to another, and how the stories were kept to pass on.
Tell me, share with me, if you will, and a story about how you've found that your music has affected somebody. Did you ever get letters from people, or people come up to you and say, you know, you reminded me of this, or it brought this to me, or I realized this, or?
Boy, we got a bunch of them. Is it Travis or is it Annabelle? Which story?
Oh, Travis. Yeah.
Well, so probably the most powerful one is a song called Travis John that Steve and I were teaching songwriting out at a writer's camp called Fish Trap on Wallowa Lake back in 2000.
Remember that.
And anyway, one of the first Oregonians to lose his life in Iraq was a boy who lived down the street from us and had gone to Grant, where our kids went, high school. And the day he was buried, we were out on Wallowa Lake, and we'd finished teaching for the week. And I was trying to write something for the evening, because the weekend was going to start happening. And the theme was from there to here, so immigration and ancestry. I was kind of working on that. And these deer were walking by, and I have my banjo, I'm outside the cabin, but these other words kept coming to me. So I started with, under a foreign sky, my fate awaits me. There, but for God go I, do not forsake me. But I was thinking of these immigrants, you know, coming all the way from Ireland or wherever and over here to the Pacific Northwest. But I kept thinking about Travis, who was being buried that day back home. And so another song came out instead. And we sang it for, Steve encouraged me to keep it going and finish it, and we sang it that night for the writers. And it was such a strong reaction, we decided to record it right away and get it to all the public radio that we could. And Billy Oskey was the engineer we picked, because it had to be the right person with the right kind of heart to record it. And he's one of the best in the world. He's a wonderful engineer. And so we went to his place, and in 14 hours recorded Travis John. And so then we wrote a letter to Travis's mother, because we didn't want her to hear it on the radio without knowing anything. So we explained the whole thing. She loved it. She said yes, and they have a very big family, and I'm from a big family. We gave them all of that, and then we started talking about it at a concert before we did it, and somebody from the press was in the audience and wrote about it. And then Jeff Douglas from OPB read about it in the paper, and he called and said, you know, we have a little slot in Artbeat. Would you mind going up and redoing this song? And yeah, okay. So this time, Travis's mother came, and his uncle Frank, who had called Billy the engineer after the news was out and said, you know, this is so interesting. You remember when we built your studio, that Travis John was on the crew, his nephew.
Wow.
So we felt very
Oh,
compelled and
wow.
called, shepherded back to that
Yeah.
place. And so when they came for that shoot, they also brought pictures of Travis eating a sandwich on a rafter,
man.
and it was like you couldn't watch it, the whole thing, without. But it was such a great ghost story because he has such great intention, and then everything that happened, and then how it rippled from there. And
Wow.
that ended up taking a grand prize from Music to Life and the Public Domain Foundation
Amazing.
for
Amazing.
songs that make a difference.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in answer
Yes.
to your question, yes, that's
Oh,
one of
that's a-
many stories.
That's a great one. Can you play some music for us?
Yeah,
Since you
I'm
happen
sorry,
to
our
have
time
your-
is up.
we'd
you
love to
happen to
play
have
some
your
songs. We could
instruments
talk all
here.
night.
We're going to start with a little instrumental piece that I wrote in honor of my dad, and he was a violinist, and his name was Marvin, so the title of this tune is Marv.
Fabulous. That was great. That really was lovely. Oh,
fun to play, too.
it looked like it.
Have
It
you
looked like
tried
fun.
one of these yet?
No,
A ukulele?
no, I have not. I have
Watch
not.
out.
Give me an hour. Give me 1 hour.
Just an hour, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sure, we better be careful.
Okay.
I might take you up on it.
Good.
So we have just a little bit of time left,
Yeah.
but we have time for one more song. If
Oh,
you're ready to do that.
wonderful.
Love it.
I'm so glad.
Since you have the guitars, you can't just let them sit there.
I
So
just happen to have this here.
And
this is a great preview for the Winter Folk
Absolutely.
event. So
Thank you for
yes,
having
oh, it's
us.
such a
And
pleasure.
thanks for being here.
Yes,
Yeah.
thanks for
Oh,
being here.
love
And this is especially for those beautiful people working at Sisters of the Road.
And Tom May,
cafe.
our dear friend Tom May, who gets this thing together every year for Sisters of the Road.
And the people who come
Yeah.
to the show, which will be you.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Over there, rock and you rock in your chair. There's such a beat to you. I overhear you talk in your sleep to the air, making dreams come true, baby. your time crossing the room to the south? Is that the way it goes? Baby, would you like to dance here in the kitchen with me? Oh, baby, we've got a chance, and love will let you be. Day is dawn, sure as the tide turns the sea. In the river, so take your time to strike electricity. Hear the thunder roll, baby. Would you like to dance here in the kitchen with me? Thank you, sisters. Whoa, baby, we've got a chance, and love will set you free. Ooh, over there, rock and you rock in your chair. There's such a beat to you. I overhear you talk in your sleep to the air, making dreams come true, baby. Would you like to dance here in the kitchen with me? Whoa, baby, we've got a chance, and love's sweet harmony. Whoa, love will let you be. Whoa, love will set you free. Whoa, love.
Just beautiful.
Thank you,
so
Monica.
much.
Thank
I love that
you.
song. Thank you. Thank you, Kay Power and Steve Einhorn. We'll look forward to seeing you at Winterfolk.
Thanks.
We'll look
And
forward to
here's
being there and
more
seeing you there.
MetroEast, 10 more wonderful years.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for watching this first segment of Community Hotline. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. It was lovely. And do check out the Winterfolk concert. The information should be on your screen, or you can check out their website. And don't go away. We have more coming up on Community Hotline in just a couple minutes. That's great.
Community Hotline is made possible with generous support by Gresham Ford, the dealer with a heart. The Contribute to the Community program provides the opportunity for the Gresham Ford team to make a positive impact, serving their customers and helping people across the community. The Outlook, serving the residents of East Multnomah County for more than 100 years. The region's #1 source for information, The Outlook provides readers with intensely local coverage of the issues and people that impact our lives and community. The Mountain Hood Cable Regulatory Commission, advocating on behalf of the public interest on communications policy issues at the local, state, and federal levels. And by Stamp Connection. MetroEast values the support of our partners in the community, and we'd like to give a very special thanks to the sponsors who help make our programming possible.
What local community media is to us is literally our lifeline to what's going on in the lives around us.
The absolute most important thing that happens in your neighborhood.
People's local communities are usually what's most important to them.
Because we're the faces, the smiles, the peoples, and the personalities of the community.
To not only give people a voice, but to have their voice heard.